Elden Ring is a game where Malenia is in fact the Blade of Miquella. How do I know this? Someone once said that if you can't beat them, join them, so unluckily for the citizens of the lands between, that's what we're going to be doing today. The goal is simple: kill God using only weapons that inflict scarlet rot, or weapons that Malenia actually uses, including but not limited to pain and suffering. Is this challenge possible? Yes, but its consequences for my mental health are unparalleled. We begin the challenge by committing assisted suicide, or as it's known in FromSoft terms, progressing the game. After gaining our horse, we go watch an underground fighting ring where, no matter who wins, we take the profit. Using our winnings and some butterflies, we are able to craft the fabled Ligma arrows, which allow us to use toxic on our victims. We then grab our elevator key and go fight this guy, whose name is so convoluted that after walking 50 meters, he becomes a single-celled organism and allows us to shoot arrows at him for free. Finally, after an hour, we have an actual weapon. Using our newfound strength, we go underground to get a shiny ball that will make our weapon stronger, and when we make it back to Margit, I realize that we're slightly over-leveled, which is good because it compensates for my lack of skill. Defeating Margit opens up Stroopwafel Castle, which we will be returning to shortly. First though, we have to begin our hunt for the Infinity Keychains, which will cause us to be so dripped out that we do slightly more damage. We also kill this dragon for money because Scarlet Rot is a balanced ability. After returning to Stroopwafel, we take out the Dutch chef for burning his food, and we collect some of the Tears of God herself because apparently they're good for your health. I knew disappointing God would get me somewhere in life. And speaking of God, the college board banned me from entering magic school due to my limited intelligence. Luckily for me, I can pull something from Richard Nixon's playbook called trespassing. Entering the school, however, caused my game to crash, just like how Nixon's popularity crashed in 1973. This pissed me off so much that I went and beat up a diseased elderly person and dug a large hole to hide the body. After that, it's time to face off against my arch nemesis, this stupid monk. The Draconic Tree Sentinel is usually a fun boss to face in a normal playthrough, but there's a bit of a skill issue here, meaning that this took a length of time that I don't particularly want to disclose. While I'm at it though, remember to smash that like button if you've enjoyed the video so far, and subscribe if you want to see more of my spinal cord getting shattered by a man on a dragon horse. Next up is Leyndell, the royal capital. It's a massive area filled to the brim with stuff to do that I definitely don't completely skip. What's the fun in that? And the fun doesn't stop with our next boss, as Spirit Godfrey is very easy. Although he is immune to Scarlet Rot and I don't do much damage, he's slow, easy to dodge, and telegraphs every move like he's the transatlantic telegraph cable. I defeated him first try and proceeded to walk past the aftermath of my visit to the assisted living community. Then it was Morgot time. I call it that because it's not a fun time. After my first few attempts, I knew I wasn't strong enough, so I wanted to grab more of God's Tears. It still wasn't easy. Morgot has so many moves that require precise timing on when you roll, and it's just one of those fights that you have to keep doing until you learn the moveset. I actually ended up waiting until the next morning before I came back and finished him off. With Morgot dead, I finally had access to Montana, and I needed to go there to gather its principal resource, forest fires. As you do in Montana, I walked through hours of barren wasteland avoiding wildlife until I finally found the average resident of Missoula. I put them out of their misery and proceeded to pull off my favorite activity. Before I finish my quest and kill God, I need to first put down our pet Labradoodle. Luckily for me, there are a few items that I've neglected to collect that will give me an edge in that fight. First I killed some insects to get the Kindred of Rot's exaltation to make me stronger when my enemies rot, and I got the Wind Sword insignia to help me when I'm just spamming attacks. Then I grabbed the secret elevator key, one half from an old folks home and the other half from a guy at the VA. Lastly, I go back to Universal Studios to film for their next movie. Harry Potter gets stabbed through the chest, and it was finally time to go to the Halig Tree. Loretta wasn't that bad of a fight, but then it became time to fight my imposter.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da 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 da
A fateful duel between two of the most powerful people in the lands between, Malenia and herself. Oh my god, this was hell. This is the longest it has ever taken me to defeat a boss in any game ever, period. It took 3 days of attempts, interspersed with me trying to find any possible way to make myself stronger. I ended up grabbing the Dexterity Talisman from Millicent and the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman from higher up on the Halig Tree, and I upgraded my flasks a bunch. This helped a little, but I just did so little damage that it didn't really matter. I actually beat a few of the other Remembrance bosses while I was taking breaks from her, so I'll get back to Malenia later. My first goal was the Ancestor Spirit, as I had already beaten Radon. This went about as well as it would for a deer 1v1ing a person with a poison sword IRL. Then I went to the Karya Manor to see if I could start Ronnie's questline. Yeah, so the files for that part of the game were corrupted, and that didn't get fixed until later. For now though, I still needed access to Ansel River to fight Estelle, and there were some more drippy items in the Lake of Rot. I could do this through getting into Coffin and Deep Root Depths, but first I needed to get there. I decided to fight the gargoyles instead of Moog for this, as I really didn't feel like searching through the Ohio that is the subterranean shutting grounds. Once they were down, I took a detour and annihilated some beta males. Then it was time for me to get acquainted with my future home. I ran past everything until I made it to southern Florida, which holds the best hat for this run. What did the girl mushroom say to the boy mushroom? You're a fun guy. How do you get into the mushroom? You ring the portabella. How does a mushroom clean her house? With a mush broom. What did the grouchy mushroom say to the loud mushroom? Put a cap on it. The human centipede is usually a pretty easy boss, and things don't change here. What does change though is one of my talisman slots, as I finally remember to get the ritual sword talisman. I have now achieved maximum talisman drip for the run. The Gods Can Do are next, and they are not a whole lot of fun. Don't worry though, I definitely put in the hours and grinded this boss out until I beat them without any cheese at all. Then it was Rykard time. I'm not allowed to use the Serpent Hunter on this run, so I'm just gonna have to stand in the lava the entire time. I grabbed everything I could that reduced fire damage, as well as some passive healing buffs to offset the damage. I grinded him out and it worked, although with some questionable hitboxes. The last remembrance I wanted to get before defeating Malenia was Fortisex, so I fixed my corrupted game files and used the Carian inverted statue to grab the Rune of Death. Then I went and hugged a woman, very rare, and entered her dreams to heal her sleep paralysis demon. I was a bit over-leveled for an exorcist, so I got him first try. Now, back to Malenia. This fight is pain. I remember the third day, I told myself I wasn't going to go to sleep until I defeated her. I was there for 8 hours, and finally did it at 1 AM. Here's a little compilation of my sanity collapsing. You know, it would be crazy if my computer ran out of recording space during the attempt I beat her. Finally, after 16 total hours, I had done it. I had beaten the hardest boss in the game with a weapon that does basically no damage. Fun fact, Malenia is actually not immune to Scarlet Rot, which makes no sense whatsoever. She just has a very high resistance. Either way though, the fight was over, and I could finally claim my prize, Malenia's gear. I would no longer have to fight with a terrible weapon. Instead, I got the hand of Malenia and Scarlet Aeonia, as well as Malenia's armor to boot. I celebrated by beating up the residents of Gatefront for a bit, and then turned my attention to the remaining remembrances. Plz is pretty easy, all you have to do is chase his tail, and Malakath wasn't that bad either. Finally, we can finish the righteous arson we were always meant to do. Once we wake up in New Mexico, we go fight this guy, who I will admit I underestimated at first. It's a good thing I didn't bring 200,000 runes with me when I fought him at first and lost them. That would be a shame. Then it was time to become a pro wrestler. Borreloo is similar to John Cena in the fact that I can't see him once his lifeless corpse disintegrates in front of me.
You can't see me.
Sadly for us, he's the last sane person we're going to be seeing on this run, as our last two bosses are Moog and Elden Beast. Moog takes a bit of effort, but I have a red bubble that counters his most powerful attacks, so it couldn't be that hard. Plus he's kinda doing things with Malenia's brother, so she has some motivation for killing him. But finally, we have God itself. You see, God once said to Malenia, "Nah, Chief, I can't cure you," so it makes sense that she would be a little angry. Now it's time for her to take her revenge. And take it she does. It's done. It's over. This 34-hour challenge run finally ends with Malenia becoming the Elden Lord, ushering in a new age. The age of